name is Bruno Pedro, and I'm here today to do one of the Behind the APIs interviews. So this is a collaboration between Scalar and the API Changelog newsletter. And we're here at the API Days conference at the venue, and I'm here with Irina Kamalova. Hi, Irina. Irina is the co-founder and the director of the Women in Coding community. This is a large community with around 4,000 members, I've been told, and the community, helps women get into the technology, coding, APIs as well. So it's a great initiative. She's also the VP of Lead Software Engineering at JP Morgan Chase, and she has a lot of interesting ideas around API prototyping and AI-related software developments. So, hi Irina, thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you're having a good time at the conference.
Thank you so much for introduction, and it is very nice to be here. Thank you so much for hosting. Yeah, so a little bit more about myself. Overall, I have 10 years of experience as backend software engineer, and I worked for different companies. 3 years I worked for Revolut, so I've built very diverse experience around different platforms and how we build APIs and the actual software in backend side of things. So today I'm sharing my career experience, and I'm really glad to do this. And yeah, thank you for mentioning Women Coding Community. This is an initiative that I'm running for a few years. And indeed, we help a lot women to grow up and switch career to IT, and do not give up and do not quit these careers, because we are here to support women.
Nice. That's a great initiative, and thanks for leading it. I have here a few topics that I know you're interested in, and just to get us started, I know this is a topic that many people are interested in as well, AI-related development. So what do you think are the interesting approaches nowadays? I mean, we see a lot of people using different tools and doing things in different ways. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so it's amazing time, and I'm really lucky to be here at API Days conference in the era of AI. So tools that I see on the market, they emerge as generative AI, generative agents, and it's amazing when I try them for my personal projects. I see that by just using trial, I would encourage everyone to try things like Juni, which is JetBrains' new Copilot, but from JetBrains. And for example, I'm Java World, so I love IntelliJ. So I started to try Juni for personal project, and I was impressed how many things it could optimize, bring build application in much faster way. Of course, you need to still have foundation. That's I'm telling today to all students. They're asking me what to do in this Gen AI era, etc. And I'm telling today them you still need to be able to validate the input that all these generative AI tools doing for you. So at this moment, right now, I believe that still fundamentals of how we build software, how language is working, what issues you may meet in production if you use even generative AI, what under the hood. So you need to be able to correct those tools, to correct and to guide them how to do it right. They made the mistakes. You need to be able to validate those mistakes. So for me, tools again, Kuso, I think you've heard about it again, Copilot, and even with Copilot, it's possible to use different models. Claude is very good as one. So there are many tools that come in, and they compete with each other. So it's also interesting to compare models with each other. You try one model, you see one result. You try another model, you see another result, and you can say, oh, that's actually a bit better. That's working in more context that you give them. They guess better. There is still a problem of hallucination. That's how we call it. That models hallucinated. So they're basically trying to give you some result, and you can see that actually it's not what it meant to be. And sometimes it's also disappointing when model just give you something like, yes, I can read it and I can understand it and I can do over communication around it. Like I can say much more things, but you can read these things as well. Like it's good to learn how to communicate from these tools as well, like how to describe even some processes. Like by myself, I maybe don't have every time all these words, but that's somehow these tools could be useful today. Again,
and are these tools, in your opinion, more like generic programming tools, or like, for example, like a IDE, like a code editor is, or do you think you can adapt them to the reality of how you code inside your company? So, for example, I'm sure that inside your company you follow certain standards or certain rules for coding and use
I would
certain
say
libraries.
At any company you build a team, and the best way to do it with very good lifestyles that you can adapt as a team, any company, anywhere where I worked. For example, I worked once for Yandex, and I've been a team, and another team had another style, and another team had another style. They used different libraries, and it was like a zoo of different technologies. And it's all was in Scala. Scala was so new at this moment, like it was 7-8 years ago, and they just adapted libraries whenever anyone wanted. To be honest, it was so hard to develop in this culture, because just do small adjustment in the service that another team handling, instead of waiting for them like in their changelog when they do this. It was so hard. You had to learn the whole framework that they adopted, because you couldn't even read what they wrote, because it was so hard. So in my opinion, teams and companies should do very cool, clean style, what they want. And then we come to generative tools. It's becoming very hard to adapt them indeed, because they need to learn first from your context. You need to explain them like, oh, I want to do this in this way, that in that way. And at some point, so that was a little bit more in my talk, tracing bullet development, prototyping, and something I didn't put in the title, but we can think about traditional development when they didn't use any generative tools. Because sometimes it's actually easier and faster just to write by yourself in the code styles that adapted. This is what I see right now.
Thank you. You mentioned something interesting. I didn't know that terminology before reading about your talk. Tracing bullet developments. So this is quite interesting concept. Can you share a little bit, your view on that, and what the benefits of this style are?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not me who invented this term. I found it in book Pragmatic Programmer, and I won't recommend this book because it has reference to very old technologies like small talk language, something like this. But few concepts I found there I liked. For example, another concept, cat ate my code. There was something funny about coding at this time 30 years ago, that you actually put responsibility for your code base. So you can't say, like my homework, it's ate by cat. Like you can't say, give the same idea about code, right? So now it's very interesting in generative AI. Like, what should we say right now? Oh, agent generated my code. You can't say like this. You should be still responsible for this. So tracing bullet development is the idea that's brought by this book. And the idea is that when we're trying to build new product, it's actually very hard to get all the requirements at the same time in front of us. And the mistakes that we can make, dig too deep to these requirements before even start to build anything, and we live right now in a very changing and fast-paced world. We just can't try to forever do specification. So tracing bullet development suggestions that before you even reach the goal, you actually, instead of ready, aim, fire, you do ready, fire, and then aim. So the idea about you fire first tracing bullet, you see where it goes, and you see how close you are to goal, like to end up user to end product. It's different to prototyping because you would use prototyping when you have no idea how market will react on this product, and prototyping is good for startups, especially on pre-seed, seed rounds, series even A. Maybe we still would prototype a lot of product because we may launch it and say like, oh, actually it's really not needed for clients right now, but now it's coming in as idea. What exactly the gaps that clients have and what we can cover. So that's how we can survive through a few first ever rounds. We need to be able to change our strategy. So that's why we can use prototyping and just throw away our coding base. But when we say about trace and bullet development, we're saying that we already have some products, we already have some style, we already have some tools. We already know what clients want. We already know some critical flows that we have to implement. So in this case, we can try with tracing the bullet because we may not know all things that we need to implement. We may not need all specifications, all details, and we may still have to remodel our models, which is the hardest thing to do with models when you build software. So we are ready to take this risk that we will rebuild it. We communicate very well with business that it's not final version and we may need a bit more time then to adjust and to reiterate. However, we start to deliver MVP to our business and they see how first ever, kind of prototype. Still, it should be clean code. The idea is that it's still clean code. It's very responsive coding because these parts, we maybe throw away some parts, but we still remain another part. So we still build it in a very object-oriented programming. For example, we use all our frame, design patterns, etc. So we use it everything carefully. We cover it with tests because we still build scalable, reliable software, but we do not build the final version right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the difference with prototyping, you were saying, is more like prototyping is where when you're on that stage where you're still exploring what you want to build.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You don't know exactly what you want to build. So interesting.
And you communicate with business that we build such a prototype that we are ready to trash if we think that it's not scalable at all, because otherwise we may come to risk where we build prototype, it became actual product, but we didn't do a lot of design on the first stage. We didn't think about, what if now it will be million clients who use it. So the risk that team can end up by maintaining this product all the time and they won't be able to do other features for other clients. So that's the risk. So we should communicate very well, like what style of development we're using right now to build our product.
Right. And how do you see prototyping following that same, let's say, software development strategy about prototyping, but now applied to the world of APIs? Do you see this as, an activity that many people are following, or do you see as something that people are starting to explore, API prototyping in general?
Yeah, so I see that right now in the era of AI, we have so much more opportunity to build faster. For prototyping, we can leverage generative AI because in this case, we don't have yet style. In this case, we don't have yet all strict rules how we build software, right? And this is something that generative AI will do for you. It may do a lot of styles from different parts of where it's learned. Like it may learn how to do one thing from one code base and then another part from another code base, and that could be absolutely different code styles and teams who wrote it. So at the end, you have like a zoo again in your system. However, we can say that during prototyping we can leverage this because we are fine. We can live like this, and because of it, I expect it will be super popular right now because it's so much faster prototyping solutions, and now we will.
There's no reason not to do it, right? It's not about the time it takes anymore. It's easy now.
It's much more ideas that you could validate because a lot of things now reduced by generative AI tools, a lot of operations reduced. So for me, when I do like something as pets project as I want to try something. Before I wouldn't even touch it because it will take for me a lot of days by typing and coding and writing
Right.
functions. But now I feel like okay, now I can ask agent to create it for me, and while it's creating, I think what is the next step, and then I see the result and I try to see like if it's if I need to amend this one or I can proceed and try next thing. So for me, it's very very good personally because I don't have right now too much time as a mother of little one, but for me it's kind of my ticket to try now explore all my backlogs that I had before.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, that's a great approach, and I think I'm also on your side. I think now with AI it's getting easier and easier to be able to experiment while you are coding and while you are trying to understand what exactly you should be coding. Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts with us and with the audience. And we'll see each other again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you.